Okay, day 68. Still no Braverman, no Brown, and no Turi. What I've done in this series is try to establish a chain of evidence, and I've focused mostly on Hillary going forward with Sid Blumenthal hiring Muslim Brotherhood to topple Libya and Syria with the sarin gas. So that chain of evidence, if you want to see that, is in the earlier episodes. And then I've worked on this chain of evidence from these operational plans getting to Hillary, and this chain is getting filled in a little bit with the operational plans going from Drumheller and a lot of the circumstantial evidence with Mike Morrell and so forth. And so this is the area that the emails will definitely strengthen. There's his CENTCOM emails as well as Hillary's 3,000 emails between them, 1,000 emails between them. And I asked yesterday about this chain, which is back going up to the pipeline designers, the oil pipeline designers, and this kind of social justice front. Is it a social justice front? And I talked about the Haiti funnel. So, people have asked me, what are you doing? What's your strategy here? You can read below the chain of evidence, but it establishes it's what you're going to have to do in court. The same way with this NATO idea over here, showing how Hillary did this basically topples. Now I'm talking about Hillary, not Bill, for about 5 or 6 other countries with NATO in the 90s. And this is these are other evidence chains, but this is the old, he killed his first 6 girlfriends, and then the 7th girlfriend's found dead with his monogrammed knife in her back, and he was there that night, and they had an argument, that type of thing. So that's why the other evidence chains are going to be important for this case as well. These are all going to end up leading down to the sarin gas, Mike Morrell, and then the other thing you're going to find that the next link on the chain, if you will, down here is the child trafficking. Is this chain. So we did a good job with the money, arms, and oil, but it's this chain that's being added. So I'm going to work on, that's the strategy from here on in, is keep adding links to the chain this way and links to the chain that way and alternative chains of evidence. So I'm going to talk today about the response for, Mike Morrell, the guy you saw in the corner there, who's the guy who kind of orders these sarin gas attacks and orders things like ambassadors to be shot and planes to get shot down that have weapons inspectors on them. You're going to find that the best response, and he comes up with these hacking stories, Putin's best response to this is to send more chemical weapons inspectors and more human trafficking researchers. There's a big case in Israel just came out today when, Israel was formed. There was a child stealing, it's been a long time accused, and it turned out, that Israel put out the 200,000 documents, and it turned out, yes, there was a child stealing scandal. So, but the idea here is, people ask me, what can you do? What you need to encourage on Twitter and Facebook and other places that encourage Russia to respond this way. Encourage Putin to say, yeah, there was 12, weapons inspectors on that plane with the Alexandrov ensemble. And you know what? Given this response, I'm going to send more. Now, you know what Hillary is going to do is she's going to try to freeze assets in other countries. This is her favorite tactic. And then take them later when kind of nobody's looking. That's the old Libya thing, and it was the plan for Syria. So you can basically let them know that's the strategy. I hope Putin's watching this. I'm very American. I love the Constitution. But in this case, Putin's my partner because he's going to put evidence, he's going to put resources into gathering the evidence. Just like Netanyahu is now a partner, because Netanyahu doesn't want all these kids, kids running all around with no documentation, no passports, no nothing, who later turn into be terrorists. Same thing. Now Netanyahu is a partner in this. So the other thing about, this is the kind of the social justice chain. Here's the guy who's kind of the PR guy for Hillary. And he's going to be worried about, okay, well, we've got a bald-face oil and arms play in these 7 countries that we're trying to take over. How do we put a social justice face on it? So you're going to see guys like this. This is Philippe Reines in Beacon, same company as Mike Morrell, trying to put a Paul Walker type face on Mike Morrell, make it look like it's a good thing that we're taking over Haiti and exploiting Haiti. And actually, that's exactly what happened. Paul Walker was recruited to do that, to be that person. Now, it's also funny he died in a very suspicious circumstances. He had given a lot of money to his foundation, and then after his death, his foundation was cleaned out. So you have some articles saying Paul Walker was a great guy, gave everything he had to those kids, which I thought he did because I saw him there a lot. And then there's other people saying, what a bad guy Paul Walker is. So just so happens that the movies were Fast and Furious. Sometimes it's a little odd that, he may have also been involved in that, the real operation. And then you're going to have guys like this on the PR operation. When someone does come out with an article, let's say, about a general in Afghanistan or one of the friends of a general that are in this little club, you attack. This is kind of like the Karl Rove job. It was kind of the bulldog that for George Bush. He was that guy. He threatened Michael Hastings' life several times in print. So those are little clues as well. But you can see here that this is going to be a repeating pattern. You're going to look for people who are social justice faces, and you're going to look back to here. And these emails, that's why these emails are important. Now, these emails are in his supposed sex case, which isn't really a sex case. It's emails down here to create this PR front for these different operations. Jeremy Bash, same thing, although not as involved. He was more involved with Panetta as the chief of staff, but he's kind of doing your cover stories as well. So this is how a gas attack by CIA operatives and ex-Delta Force contractors goes through this funnel here and turns into bad Russians, Russia stories and so forth, okay? So, again, we need to work through there. Now, I said this funnel that Eric Braverman was involved in, Reines is going to go get Jeff Skoll, founder of eBay, to be kind of social justice front for this construction company here. So, but this is going to be the guy you go here and this is going to tell you all the social justice movies he makes, and he's a social justice kind of movie maker, are going to be fronts for various activities. It's almost like they're leading us to the next crime. Justra is making a big refugee play in Greece and Malta. And that's where the plane went down with all the investigators, the French investigators for the human trafficking from Libya. You can see that he has a movie out about the Greek pipeline. And I'll guarantee you, I don't even have to look yet, but I'll guarantee you Skoll made it. So you just look at the social justice movies that Skoll makes, maybe like The Cove where they're beating the dolphins. I'll guarantee you there's over-the-horizon oil drilling in Japan, and they don't want the fishermen out there. So they come up with this movie to get the fishermen out. So those are the things you keep looking for. We need more researchers in this area here with human trafficking. But you notice how I always leave kind of the end of the chain dangling into the next episode, and that's Carlos Slim. I also want, and I'm going to go to the next page, explain Carlos Slim. But the great thing about you contributors out there is you give me little leads all the time that are actually great leads about this Eunice guy in microfinancing. I talked about how the cell phone microfinancing combination a lot of times enables these sweatshops into being prostitution rings. And sure enough, Eunice focuses almost entirely on women, microfinancing for women. This is Monica Peterson's research. They've been longtime friends. He got $13 million from Hillary in State Department contracts. He transferred $100 million illegally out of this microfinancing contract. He was disgraced. So now let's see if Slim is related to, because Slim does the cell phones. I mentioned the microfinancing. Let's see if that is a connection. Well, it turns out quite a bit. Here they are together, and they did a microfinancing deal in 2008. Let's walk back on Slim a little bit. He was the younger brother of this police chief, and this police chief was the head of what's called DFS, which is kind of the forerunner to our modern DHS. And they used this DHS to go around and intimidate large contributors to the opposition political party. They didn't use it for Homeland Security, and this is what I say in my other videos. They used it to intimidate people and take over companies. And they gave Carlos, being the brother, they funneled it. They didn't want to funnel it directly to Julian, so they funneled it through Carlos. So he owned in 7 years, he owned 8 companies by the time he was 32. They just keep funneling it through Carlos. And then Carlos decides to break with his older brother, Julian, in 1990 when the government of Mexico sells him Telmex, which owned a complete monopoly of the landline phone company, for $1.7 billion for a value of $14.5 billion. So this whole billionaire story, you know, these are the facts, okay? He bought it for no money down. He got a 7-year guarantee monopoly, and he got unlimited rights on the mobile phone. So here he's using the mobile phone payments to pay for the company. And this is what leverages him into, and I went through every one of his acquisitions this morning. Every one of these phone companies basically owns everything in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. He starts in 2006. And then the microfinancing partnership starts right about the time Hillary becomes Secretary of State. So this is how these little leads that you guys give me end up becoming fact. And now each of these slides becomes a research area. So some people might want to research Eunice, some people might want to research Slim, and it builds a chain of evidence just for this one link. It just solidifies, makes that ironclad proof on each one. And the whole presentation is a chain of evidence as well. So we can take it to Chaffetz or take it to Gowdy, whoever, or Sessions, or whoever becomes the AG, or Judicial Watch can use it for resources, etc. And all those resource links, that's why those are so important. So I'll go one more here and just show why sometimes some people say, well, you get a little conspiracy theory sometimes, or you drop things that you can't necessarily prove. I'll tell you why I do that, why I do the working theory thing. I mentioned the Long Island serial killer case. And what you had is these Middle Eastern contractors coming to these meetings, these oil meetings in New York at the Council of Foreign Relations, and then they were going out at night to places like this. It was called the Boom Boom Room on 9th Avenue, in the high 40s back then. And it was a strip club, basically. That's where they took them, and they said, okay, you're nice and drunk now. Hey, you want to go to a party? Let's go over to Jeff Epstein's house. So this was 2002, 2003. Now it's moved down to the meatpacking district. It's real nice and posh, the Boom Boom Room is. But a retired deputy sergeant from NYPD watched this and said, hey, so I'm trying to engage other people who were involved in these cases to connect the dots. The other thing is, if you look at the Long Island serial killer case, and I'll use this is a group of conspiracy theorists that think that they were all prostitutes, and this is a group of conspiracy theorists that thinks that none of them were prostitutes. Well, the truth is, there was a few of both, and this sounds terrible, but it's called a cover murder. You kill the people you want to kill, the 5 or 6 people that are coming forward that actually just went to parties and were drugged and drug raped. And then you cover it, unfortunately, with prostitute murders you don't think anybody's going to care about. Usually people don't have a lot of parents or haven't lived there a long time, immigrants and so forth. But you mix them all together and you confuse everyone. And you get these two groups fighting each other. I'm talking about from an operations point of view now. And you get them all fighting each other, and they don't realize that it's a mixed bag. These are cover murders. So the reason why I do that is to get both of those groups that are involved in those investigations on side and focused on the right things rather than fighting each other. Okay, so again, I'll end on this one. Connecting the dots here is so important for like a journalist like Ava Bartlett. Because if she doesn't know this connection, this downstream of where the profit motive is, it really limits her and her, she can only say SOHR is a fraud human rights organization. But there's this huge iceberg underneath. Now, with this information, hopefully people will send this to her, get her on board, because she's the Pulitzer Prize winner in this case. Sharina Shim was also as well. All the stuff I'm presenting is basically Serena Shim's work. It's just Turkish intelligence murdered her. So I'm just picking, I look at myself as kind of the flag bearer. She fell with the flag. I'm picking it up and carrying it forward until I go down. So here she is, talking about these chemical weapons attacks. If she has the Russian investigators that come in and the child trafficking investigators, Serena Shim was the first one to say, hey, oil is going one way, arms are coming the next way. They're in World Health Organization trucks by the UN. And there's a lot of kids going the wrong way here, that way, south. So she was the one who put together this working theory, and then this is further supported by Ava Bartlett. And that's where I'm saying these working theories are so important, because they turn into chains of evidence. Okay, and I'll end it on that. And I'm sorry I didn't give Ava Bartlett enough credit on a previous slide, and today I wanted to make up for that. Thank you.